Hi guys, my name's Conor. I'm a science fiction, political, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a never Trump and real Republican, meaning that I hold real Republican values from 10 years ago before they lost their frickin' minds. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the Lib and Learn crew, which is Josiah, Pondering Politics, Hutch, The Soy Pill, I'm Really Important, and Pisco, talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination and the reaction to the Charlie Kirk assassination. They are peers. I would argue even some of them are friends of mine. We disagree on politics, but we're still friendly. So I want to see what their takes on everything is. I'll be pausing intermittently in order to engage with chat and comment on their commentary. Let's go.
That's a lot of what messengers do. That's what we want. Like, part of the whole notion of chorus media or of us and what we would do if we were to go on a college campus is to convince people with messaging and to talk about our ideas and debate people. And we have like talking points, prepared. And like,
yeah, but Pisco, you'd say that you were wrong if you were wrong, right? You'd like admit fault.
Yeah, for sure.
This is something that like a Charlie Kirk will never do, that a Tim Pool won't do. But that's the difference between good and bad faith. That's all I'm saying. Not that you can't go out here and spread your message.
Sure. All I'm saying is like I agree with Ezra to the extent that it's like you didn't do blatantly illegal and violent shit all the time. But everything else in terms of like the whole he did it the right way, I obviously disagree with that.
Yeah.
And
low bar for the right though. I understand.
Low bar,
but he wasn't being violent. Yeah.
I do want to say like it sucks that this happened. It was horrible as an event. But I want to also emphasize and agree with everyone here, because I think we're all on the same page, that we are not going to tolerate this kind of whitewashing. We're not going to tolerate these threats who are like, you have to agree with us, otherwise, you are going to reap the whirlwind, or you're going to face the consequences. You hear some of this, right? Like, you guys all decided to kill the more moderate guy. You guys decided to kill the negotiator. Now you're going to face the punishment when you decided as a collective to just like kill our guy. And this kind of rhetoric, I think, is despicable. Certainly, I'm not going to stand for the blatant attacks on free speech that we're seeing. And so, yeah, even though it's a horrible event, everyone needs to stay frosty, to use a phrase from like Jack Posobiec, for these kinds of attacks from the Trump administration, from MAGA people. Don't let them
Based. And sorry, this is actually where I just viciously disagree with Steven, that if you don't adopt his tactic, then you're pussifying to the right. I'm pretty sure that if Pisco was on that same panel and they were like, hey, Pisco, do you disavow the murder of Charlie Kirk? He's gonna be like, yeah, I do. But I think that the right wing has engaged in escalatory violence and rhetoric for the past decade. And so as a result, while I abhor political violence, I completely understand why this happened. And if they're like, oh, Charlie was the nice guy, Charlie was the moderate, Charlie did this, Charlie did that, then you can be like, yeah, but he also did this, and this. And you could have a spicy fight about that without being seen as like an inhuman reptile. So sorry, I'm going to go ahead and side with Pisco. I know Steven and I are friends in some regards. At least I consider him a friend, I guess. And I will always front stab him. I'm not going to backstab him. But yeah, I'm with Pisco on this one. Eli Gray says, Counterpoints Politics, when did Destiny start switching it up past the jokes? He's been saying no political violence or assassinations. I don't read his tweets nonstop. What changed? I think he's just bitter, dude. I think he's just black-pilled. I think he's just upset with the state of the world. Christian Blair says, who despite being gay was like the first Proud Boy far-right adjacent dude. What, Milo Yiannopoulos? Yeah, absolutely. Triple Think says, it's the heat of the moment. He probably would in a more relaxed setting. Yeah, of course. I understand that, Steven, people have been pointing this out throughout the day. And by the way, I'm skipping ahead to recent chats. If you had a chat that you were 100% interested in me reading, the problem with having a large chat and responding to the chats chronologically is obviously I'm super far behind and I don't get to everybody's chats. But I want to read people's chats, including the people who don't donate, because not everybody has money for chat donations. So yeah, so basically, if I missed your chat and you wanted me to see it, type it in again. I'll try to get to it if I can. All right, last one before I get back into it. So, or two more. Talibot says, it was a twist of the previous tradition of annual day of absence where people of color would leave campus for one day so that their absence could be felt. Sure. And then for white people leaving campus. But then that was weird as shit because it wasn't voluntary, it was involuntary. There were students who were trying to enforce a white day of absence, which is absolutely psychotic. Zach Aaron says, so I see what you're saying there, but the implication was being made that it's largely the left that is creating this violence. Also, after Vance said, I can see why Destiny is being condescending. Okay. Listen, we don't have to agree. I'm not trying to badger you guys into 100% lockstep agreement with what I'm saying. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to articulate the world as compellingly as I possibly can, and I'm hoping that you can at least see my argument, even if you don't agree with it.
Change the narrative.
Well, you pointed out exactly that it's also clearly they don't really mean what they say. If they truly thought that the left was like this hyper violent group of people that was going to kill anyone who ever spoke out, if they were like, well, by the way,
Audacity says, ouch, skipped me, Gralu sad bar. Not on purpose. I think I just read it.
Then here we're going to give you the more extreme person. Like, if you truly believe that, you would think that that person was also going to have something happen to them. The reason they're saying it is because they know they can use it as a tool to silence good faith people and say, oh no, you have to shut up, you can't counter us anymore, because, like, you know, otherwise we'll go and do something crazy and put well, I forgot who the leader of the neo-Nazi party is that they're using in all those images, but like it's used as a silencing tactic. They don't truly believe exactly what they're saying.
All right, what about you, buddy? What do you think about
Yeah,
this?
I want to build on what Pisco was saying. I was very happy to see people start pushing back on the narrative that, like, NBC News was portraying of this was just a guy who was talking to people in good faith. Bullshit. Go look at his page. It's all leftist melts down as they try to fight me. He was there to farm clips. He was there to take on children. It's like NBA player going to a high school game and dunking on people to get a poster. So I really don't care for that. But, you know, the idea that he died while talking politics, the bird's eye view is important to stand up for and say, we don't want that. It was a body blow to our democracy. And if you're not mad about Charlie Kirk, that's fine. I'm not shedding a tear over Charlie Kirk, but I did get upset. And I think everybody should condemn the violence because it hurts all of us. It chills political speech in America
100%.
and it hurts our democracy. However, as far as the future of Turning Point USA, no offense to his widow, and people grieve in their own way, but that was terrible what she rolled out. They should have never put her out there. And it was just really shocking to see what they did. And then the whole Instagram videos and showing his hands on and his body and stuff. I don't think these are talented people that are in control outside of Charlie Kirk. I think he was the magic for Turning Point USA. So I'll be shocked if if they really achieve something special moving forward.
Well,
I don't agree, by the way. Listen, I'm going to read Anthony Zubiate's super chat, and then I'm going to respond to this, okay? Anthony Zubiate says, here's another 5 for saying my name right. I was going to say I'm genuinely worried Steven is going to get attacked in public at this rate. Good stream, sir. Thank you for your donation. And if I mispronounced you the second time, my apologies, but I would pronounce it Zubiate. So anyways, I think IRI is underestimating, because the truth is that Charlie Kirk might have been fuel under the fire of Turning Points USA, but correct me if I'm wrong. What they really did is they co-opted the college Republican clubs, and then instead of having individual college Republican clubs, they made them a national level brand. So the national level brand could coordinate political events, host debates, host social hours, host canvassing events, host telephone banking, host this, host that, right? So for me, that machine doesn't go away just because you lose a charismatic leader. Another charismatic leader probably steps into the gap because they want to be a part of that machine. And so pretending that somehow the community aspect of it is going to die because you don't have a central personality behind it, I just absolutely disagree. What was it? Jeremy from the Quartering, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, all these people said that they would be willing to do Turning Points USA events in the short term to get them back on their feet. And they will find somebody in order to take over the logistical operations of Turning Points USA. So I doubt it. Not only do I doubt what IRI just said, I would never underestimate the power of an organization that's capable of organizing a national level brand with young people. The Democrats are behind the power curve by a decade.
We have the vice president taking over as the host of the Charlie Kirk podcast. So
in his official office, using the
Oh, here's the other thing that I wanted to object to. Listen, I'm a political person. Okay, I'm a political person. My wife is not a very political person. However, I have friends who are wildly political people. If I died speaking my mind, pushing the politics that I sincerely believed in, I would expect my friends and family to politicize my death and push my agenda forward because that's what I cared about. Now, I find it tasteless I find it gross to show Charlie Kirk's spray tanned hands and to show his corpse. But the way that they're viewing it is that they're owning it like a badge of honor. You killed our friend. We are going to show you what you did. We are going to show you we are going to show you a widow grieving. We are going to show you Charlie Kirk's corpse. We are going to show you that we're not afraid of his death. And so I feel like this is like a total misreading. You can say it's weird. I agree that it's weird. But guess what? We're in politics. Politics is filled with weird people.
Official trappings of his office.
Disgusting.
To host it. Yeah.
Is that a Hatch Act violation or anything?
I don't know. Like, I mean, at this point, what does the Hatch Act even mean in this administration?
It's dead law.
I'll just. I do want to say on the speech that his wife made or his widow made, like the part that was most disturbing to me was when
Melody says, how are the additional monitors coming along? Well, considering you guys gave me like 2 weeks worth of revenue within 1 week, I think I have to buy new monitors with that money. I think I have to.
She's like, the evildoers, they have unleashed the fire, and the cries of this widow will echo throughout the world like a battle cry. These are words meant to ascribe collective guilt. You, Josiah, you, Hutch, you, random liberal in the audience, you are responsible for murder. Now, if you are shocked and outraged like I am about this murder, and if you condemn it, I think, and even, by the way, even if you don't.
Oh, well, QC John says, how do I get a wrench? I'll give it to you. That's how.
You have no role in the causal mechanism that led to Charlie Kirk's death. You have no moral culpability for this crazy coward who took this life, and you should not accept any on your behalf or on the left's behalf or on Democrats' behalf. We are not going to, and we should not accept guilt for something we did not do. And it's a standard that would never be applied to them in any other context. Minnesota legislator shooting.
No, yeah, Pisco's 100% right here. In the Minnesota shooting, the right wing can just say, well, that's not us. That's just some random schizophrenic who took it way too far. I think that's actually one of the things that pisses me off about Stephen's Pierce Morgan appearance, is because that would have been a super easy optical tactic. Would have said, well, I'm not a leftist, I'm a liberal. I actually abhor political violence. I actually don't want political violence to become a norm in American society. It would have been the perfect way to offload the moral culpability of this incident onto a far lefty. Now, the counter argument that I've heard, which I think bears some level of sanity, is that the right wing thinks that everybody is a far lefty. But Stephen isn't exactly proving them wrong right now with his rhetoric on Pierce Morgan, is he? Because if the liberals are gonna dance on your graves, then the leftists are definitely gonna dance on your graves. So let me get into the live chat. Let me throw out some wrenches. If I see Eli's a friend, I'm going to add as a moderator. And then let's get, where are you? Where's Well QC? Well QC John. I'm going to give Well QC because he did an insane super chat earlier today. I don't see Well QC John. Where's Well QC John? I'm just gonna look for another 30 seconds. But if I don't see him, just remind me next time we stream, and I'll get him. I'll get him a wrench. There he is. I see him. Boom. There you go. You have been knighted in the Order of the Cog. Wield your wrench with mild disrespect towards our enemies.
January 6th, all other
Those
examples
were all
of violence
Antifa
input
false
here.
flags, though.
Yeah, So it is, I think, absolutely shameful. I'm going to repeat it. Shameful to accuse people, just like they did. Remember when with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia, they brought out this woman who had this daughter who died as a result.
Mm-hmm. Eli Gray is pointing out, yeah, Eli's been a friend for a long time. Eli, if you hear the outros on the Counterpoints 40K channels, on the Counterpoints 40K channel, that's Eli's song. It's excellent.
Of an illegal alien who killed their daughter or something, and trying to put the blood of her daughter on Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hands, even though he had no connection to that crime.
Yeah, that was psychotic.
No relation whatsoever. It's classic from their demagogue playbook. And just because a widow says it doesn't mean that I'm going to not condemn that kind of statement.
Yeah, damn. Hutch, what do you think? I feel like you were chomping at the bit there. Lay it on us, brother.
Well, I mean, I have so many different thoughts. I mean, I agree with you guys completely about like, not only should we not avoid, speaking quite frankly and telling the truth about what he said, we have a responsibility to do it, because like we all have normies in our lives, right? Like how well do the normies in your life, how well did they really know?
No, it's not. Sin Patty says, bro, now Trump is talking about Fallon and Seth Meyers being next. Free speech is dead. Holy fuck. No, it's not. It's a republic if we can keep it. And by the way, we need to maybe that's one of the things that we should do as a community, even though we're small. We should probably do a letter campaign to ABC and call them pussies and cucks for backing down so easily. And if another comedian goes down, if their show gets canceled, then I like right now, I don't really, I guess I don't have the passion for whoever that guy is, because I think he's such a cuck. Whoever the guy is who used to host the Man Show, but now hosts late night television. But I would say that if another comedian goes down, if another network cucks to the Trump administration, yeah, then it's 100% time to effectively do a letter writing campaign to every major media network and say, you are backing down in your civic responsibility by bending the knee before the administration has even done anything to you, you fucking cowards. And I would 100% try to get Steven and Unfuck America and Zico and Sanchez in on that. Because I don't care if you say something fucked up. That's your right as an American. You are allowed to have bad opinions. You are allowed to express your mind state. And I'm not going to say, oh, because I disagree with it, you're not allowed to say that. Fuck that. This is the Republic of the United States of America. We fight until we can't. And so here's the thing. I said this a week ago, and I kind of regret it a little bit. I said that if it's anti-fascist militias and right-wing dipshit MAGA militias fighting in the streets, then I'm not joining either one of their teams. And if they're big enough, I'm going to let them take each other out, and I'm going to come back when the ashes, when the Civil War is settled. However, if there's pro-Republican forces, if there is a unified pro-Republican military, pro-Republican Americans who are ready to fight either the far left or the far right-wing cults, I'll be a part of that every single day of the week. I just didn't believe that there were enough of us, but maybe there are. Anyways, I need to use the restroom, so I'll be right back, but I trust these young men to keep you entertained.
Charlie Kirk, like before this happened, like probably 50, 60, 70% of the country that really don't really know a lot about this guy. And, speaking to what Pisco was talking about, like the narrative right now is just really important for conservatives. And as always, the narrative is like, they did this to us. Like, it didn't matter the guy who shot at him in Pennsylvania. They can't even really find a political motivation for that guy's murder. I mean, it just seemed like the kid was just really, he was Googling like, what is major depressive
well, he was also,
disorder,
now, speaking of Google's, as a reminder, he was Google searching President Biden's campaign stops too, because like he was just an equal opportunity offender. He was going to strike at whichever political candidate was more accessible.
The other guy in Florida had kind of incoherent politics too. Like he was basically like a never Trump Republican. But that doesn't stop them from framing it in this way. And I fear like in a moment like this, when you had such a like viscerally brutal murder that was just everybody's seen videos of it like 50 times at this point. That can be really potent messaging for them. Like it really, it makes their job like a lot easier of framing that as this, a collective attack from the left on free speech. And so, it really is up to us to remind people that it wasn't even that long ago that Charlie Kirk was suggesting that Joe Biden deserved to be executed. He was trying to get Mehdi Hassan deported like 2 fucking weeks ago for his speech. And so, we absolutely should not allow them to dictate, how he should be remembered and how people think about him. But I think we also have to be careful when we're pointing this stuff out to, not be fucking deranged. Like that's really fucking important now.
I think it's important to say that, like when I first heard about, so let me just give you my mindset. So when I first heard about it, There was a guy upstairs soundproofing like the home studio that I use, so I couldn't like do any sort of content creation. I wasn't like really paying attention to the news. And then again, I think it was either in a group text with Hutch or because I was scrolling through Twitter, I saw the fuck from.
Sorry, we had an excellent question that I must address. Claw 33 says, married man, never Trumper with 3 kids. And when the wife brings up how crazy the left is on Charlie and that Kirk was moderate, I had to bite my tongue. Any suggestions on how to broach that without causing World War III? Yeah, I would just pull up clips, man. I mean, I got them bookmarked, but they're on Twitter. And I would just say, baby, I love you. I love you with my whole heart. Thank you for being the mother to my children. However, I want you to understand like something about Charlie. And then I would find this tweet. It's on your screen right now. This is from Liam Neeson. It's got 28K. Here's Simon Dixon documenting him endorsing the ethnic cleansing of Israel. Here's Akbar Zab with 22,000 likes, basically joking about how there's no tall buildings left in Gaza, so they can't throw the gays off of it anymore. There's one in here. I don't know if it's this one. This might be the one where he's talking about how he wanted 12-year-olds to be able to see lethal injections in public executions, which, by the way, you know, don't ask me my opinions on that one, because maybe to some degree I would side with Charlie. I would make it like adult, but you know, whatever. And then here's the one that I thought was absolutely fucking insane, is he said that Joe Biden is such a traitor to the United States that he should be incarcerated and or killed. You know, he said through like capital punishment, but at the same time, pretending that this is a moderate position. This is Keith Woods, by the way, the actual like nationalist fascist philosopher. But anyways, the point is that like, yeah, just show him these clips, and you can DM me on Twitter. My Twitter is Conor, COUNTER. And if you say, hey, Conor, I need those clips so I can show my wife that, yeah, it sucks that Charlie's dead, but he wasn't a moderate, I'll send those to you. No problem. I have them saved.
Hutch. And then I went to Twitter, and of course, then you just like you refresh the feed and it's image and video and image and video. And I clicked on what I thought was a picture, and it was actually the close-up video. And it was gut wrenching. Like I
Silver says, we buying wrenches? No, I'll make you a wrench. I just didn't see you for a year because you're busy. I would make Travis a wrench too. But yeah, somebody gives me $100 and they're an active member of the community, they're getting a wrench. Yeah.
I was stunned. I really was. And then I find out.
All right, you guys are making me feel bad now. Okay, patriarch and Silver. I got you. Jesus Christ.
As I'm trying to pay the guy who's like soundproofing the thing, and I'm getting texts from Hunter, my buddy Hunter, and he's just like, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get through this fucking thing. Like, let me just get to Venmo here. And then I find out Hunter was the one who had last spoke to Charlie. Yeah. And then I went back and looked at the picture, and I see his profile,
which is funny. He's part of Unfuck America. So I'm actually, I'm kind of surprised that Josiah hasn't jumped in more aggressively into Unfuck America.
He always wears a hoodie, and he's like 6'4" himself. And so I see the curly hair, and I see the rim of the glasses, and I listen to his voice, and it's like, oh my God, that is. And so like all of that together was really stunning. And so I did just a really short video confirming that Trump had confirmed that Kirk had succumbed to his gunshot wound. And then I was like, okay, I'm done with it for the day. Then Trump did his unhinged video address, and we should probably talk about Trump's reaction here in just a second. I did respond to that because I thought that was incredibly dangerous and wildly irresponsible of the nation's chief executive to respond in this way. The most unhinged post-tragedy video address we have ever heard from any president. And then the next day, and it took multiple times because I don't script my videos, and so I was trying to get my thoughts, and it was like 20 minutes of false starts. But I finally put out like my full reaction. And my position is kind of like I'm sure everybody here. I didn't like Charlie Kirk, and I didn't like his politics, and I'm not going to pretend that that's the case. Like even like giving the initial reaction or the full reaction to his murder, not only am I not going to lionize him, I'm not going to not articulate that I thought his politics sucked, and I don't think he was a good guy. But the beautiful thing about this country, or that's supposed to be one of the beautiful things about this country, is that we are committed to the right of free speech, even for those with whom we don't like or disagree. Like, it's not contingent on whether or not we liked or respected.
Silver says, I was just making fun. Yeah, I don't care. Guess what? Now you got a wrench, bitch. Now you got responsibility. That's what you get for making jokes.
Charlie Kirk. He had every right to say the things he believed in safety.
Anonymous chatter says, I actually don't want a wrench. I'm too wishy-washy. Fair enough.
And so, like, I almost think like the right is missing the point here when they're going after people. Like, how dare you criticize Charlie Kirk? Well, a lot of the people that they're going after will say shit like what I just said, which is, I don't like Charlie Kirk. He shouldn't have been killed, but I didn't like him. Like, they'll switch the order. They'll say, I wish he hadn't died, but I didn't like him, or vice versa. And it's like, no, you must mourn him and you must lionize him. It's like, no, actually, that sentence.
I don't see that many people saying that. I do see most people just saying, like, I don't know, just don't dance on his grave. But bear in mind, I'm not dancing on Charlie's grave. So I probably, and I for all intents and purposes, I'm a pretty centered guy, you know? Like, I believe in Republican values and ideals, but I don't hate the blacks or the Jews or the gays or the Hispanics, right? Which I guess is like a pretty moderate position these days. So I guess I just haven't seen what Josiah is saying. I haven't seen anybody on the right wing saying, like, no, you must mourn Charlie Kirk. You must lionize him. I haven't seen that. I've seen lots of calls for civil war. I'll tell you that. I've seen that. I haven't seen what Josiah is talking about.
It's even more beautiful because you have people who are like, this guy sucked, but it doesn't matter because he didn't deserve to die.
I mean, Josiah, you're talking about the party who said you can't criticize a wartime president for 8 years. So
until Trump, right? That's true. You can't criticize veterans until Trump did it, right? John McCain. So
the last time this country went through a period where political violence was, more or less common, it led to basically like 25 years of Republican dominance in politics. So that's something to think about as well. Of all the things that, of all the different issues that people have opinions on when it comes to the Trump administration, like the law and order stuff is for sure, I think right now, his like strongest issue, and he's underwater like on everything else. And if people play into that, and if God forbid, like the violence spreads even more, I mean, that is only going to make him and his movement stronger.
You think, what if the violence is perpetrated? What if there's like a tit for tat? Like, what if violence is next perpetrated? I mean,
less so. But if there's like, 3 more, like, or 2 more assassinations, I mean, I think any kind of breakout of violence, like probably like helps him. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, I think so as well, because when people see extrajudicial and extralegal violence, they basically beg for a crackdown. So if you have, of course, if it's right-wing terrorism, if it's pro-MAGA terrorism, that could hurt the right wing. Absolutely. I agree with that. But if there's tit for tat violent reprisal, what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, well, the country's getting out of control because we keep killing alternative media commentary pundits. As a result, we need the federal government to crack in, to crack down and do basically what they're talking about doing with Antifa right now. The calls for federal levels of violence are going to increase, not decrease. So that's again why I think that if Stephen's rhetoric increases the chances of tit for tat, reciprocal political violence, then I think it's the wrong tact.
I'm not inclined to think that like widespread assassinations and like protests or whatever, or riots help Trump. I don't know. I don't have a reason to think that. I really think that what we're seeing right now is dangerous in terms of what they might use to try to justify some government.
Yeah, Christian Blair, so I can send those clips to you. Absolutely.
Action, perhaps. I do want to take a point of
Earshot. You don't get a fucking wrench. You don't get to. Sorry, we need to be clear. Earshot and I are, relatively speaking, sparring partners on Twitter and sparring partners in chat. But Earshot, you're a fucking asshole. And you were saying that I was doing this shit just for the money. So, no, fuck you. You're not getting a wrench.
Of personal privilege here, because I saw Rob Noor retweet Nick Fuentes, who said basically Hassan Piker, who I did not understand to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk. I didn't see him celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk.
Fuck Hassan Piker. Listen, I'm going to be a dick. Pin this on Hassan Piker. fabricate some evidence, okay? Fabricate some evidence of Discord leaks where this guy was an avid Hassan Piker fan. Holy shit. Holy shit, would I be ecstatic. Like, okay, don't actually do that. I'm fucking around. But like, yeah, dude, this would have been the perfect opportunity to jettison the far left. And I actually think it's a missed opportunity. I understand that the lefties and the liberals and the progressives and the social democrats, I understand that they don't want to jettison the far left because they're going to need as many people as possible in order to be relevant in the election. But damn, what a missed opportunity.
I saw him maybe like talk some shit, but generally be horrified.
Yep.
That was the reaction I saw. But Rob Noor was retweeting Nick Fuentes saying Hassan should be deported and denaturalized because of what I guess what he said about Charlie Kirk. It just goes.
Harmonic, you're not getting a wrench for a different reason. I know that every few months politics is like toxic for you. And so as a result, like you have to take a step back. I don't want you to feel like you have any responsibility. You should step back whenever you feel like you need to step back.
Goes to show you
That's crazy.
that this base does not care about rights, doesn't care about free speech, doesn't care about any of this shit. So you shouldn't expect when Trump starts coming or like instituting the National Guard, for example, and overriding states' rights, overriding individual rights, that they're going to yell out. It's up to us to scream about it and make sure that people are aware that the government's intruding on their, prerogatives.
All right, what were you gonna say, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I feel, Hutch, where you're coming from. I just think the news cycle moves so fast that it's going to be hard to keep this at top of mind unless there are some subsequent events that come from this. The fact that they got this guy and he doesn't fit the description that they really want, yeah, he's got a...
Oh, this is bullshit. This is bullshit, but okay, go off. Let me hear what you got.
roommate that's trans, but he's not trans. He's not, this or that. So I think it's just case closed, and I don't think it leads to a bunch of violence. I mean, again, I'm always an optimist, so I'm thinking the best case scenario, but it could go that route. I just think the economy is going to be what people vote on, and things are not going well with the economy, with the jobs.
Oh man, so hard. Sorry, I'm going to back up IRI. I don't agree with him that the left-wing label isn't going to stick to the shooter. I don't agree with him there. What I do agree with him is my wife came home the other day and she was like, "Do you know how much a fucking onion is?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, $2. And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's a white onion or like a yellow onion or something. So they grow in like Pakistan. So the fact that you can get yellow onions from Pakistan flown into the United States of America is a logistical miracle. Excuse me." And she was like, "Yeah, but do you know how much they were like, I don't know, a month ago?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, 50 cents. And so that's going to happen. There are going to be people who go to the grocery store and they're going to get hit with like sticker shock in reference to produce. And they are going to be pissed. So yeah, Charlie Kirk is going to matter. Yes, political assassinations are going to matter. Yes, Destiny being an asshole on the internet is going to matter to like 0.01%. 0.1% will be how much the Charlie Kirk discourse affects the midterm politics. Maybe 0.5. However, I'm actually with IRI that I think what's going to radicalize normies is random produce items quadrupling in price due to labor shortages and due to tariffs.
Reports that are coming out, and with the economic slowdown in general, I just think that's what people are going to vote on even this November. I don't even think it's going to impact this November's elections, let alone next year.
Well, let me throw...
IRI, I mean, I want to comment on that because you're right. You look at all these people saying civil war, we got to escalate, the libs of TikTok, the Nick Fuentes, all these people. The reason these people are never going to get caught doing some crazy act of political violence is because they have so much more to lose. They have cushy lives, they make a lot of money, and if everyone in the country is still at that point where, yeah, you can be invigorated and Trump can drum you up and point all of this at the left wing, if you don't have the schizophrenia enough to be able to be like, oh, I need to prove this and I have nothing to lose and I'm going to go do it, like the very few people who end up actually doing some crazy act of violence like this, you're just worried about paying for your groceries. And I ultimately think that is what's going to matter.
Well,
it's not going to be
half of these people, half of these people you're referencing, so I Bill, hated fucking Charlie Kirk. Laura Loomer hated Charlie Kirk.
Wasn't she deleting tweets? Kirk. Can somebody confirm that? Was she actually going back and deleting?
Performative bullshit that they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't talk shit about someone who was killed. Like, no, you don't even believe that. You talk shit about George Floyd. You talk shit.
Sorry. Bisco, true. Jazz hands for Bisco.
About Martin Luther King, you talk shit about all people who die. Like, this is not a standard that's ever been applied. And even they themselves, who are now leading the witch hunt, this industrial cancel culture, they were talking shit about Charlie Kirk like last week. And so spare me with this sanctimonious bullshit.
So curveball here real quick, because again, we will unpack like the reactions that MAGA has been having, like again, you call it the industrialized cancel culture. I think they initially called it charliesmurderers.com. We'll get to that, but I'm curious. So IRI, you mentioned that, the suspect did not quite match the, optimal MAGA profile that they were looking for. And I'm curious because Governor Cox from Utah has gone on the Sunday morning shows yesterday, and he was like, yeah, he was radicalized by leftist ideology. And when pressed for details, he was like, it's all going to come out when we file the charges, like you said, Tuesday morning. So I am curious about that. Like, do you all, obviously you're not psychic, but are you all confident that Cox's characterization will be borne out?
Yeah, Officer Nasty says, it just seems like Destiny knows a mainstream political career is done, so he's going full power now. Maybe. I think he's also capitalizing on the controversy around his name. Like I said, it's a perfectly viable marketing strategy for Steven to be this controversial. I think where did I do? I think this one is it. Yeah. So for Steven, this is all upside. Now, if he gets murdered, it's not going to be upside. If he gets a shit kicked out of him, it's not upside. But his name rings out more in the political left, and he's going to attract a healthy chunk of people who are politically disaffected and moderates and independents who are going to come his way if they understand the steel man of what he's saying. And so he's not only expanding within the left, he's also expanding within the moderate base. But for me, I just got to say, I think that 8 out of 10 people who see him talk are going to break in the opposite direction. So Destiny is profiting from this discourse cycle as long as he doesn't get murdered. Whereas I think that overall he's having a net harm on discourse.
In the facts that this man, Tyler Robinson.
Spalin says, how likely do you think a total collapse is? Also, do you think a peaceful national divorce is actually the only peaceful way forward? Absolutely not. It'll be difficult, but it seems like the responsible thing. No, it's not. No, it's not. You think that we should have a new confederacy of Alabama, Florida, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, and the Midwest should all become one country, and then California, New York, and the Northeast and the Pacific Northwest should become another country? You think that's going to solve anything? Are you insane? That's going to make it all worse. And by the way, I think that a total collapse, less than 5%. If I'm being realistic, probably less than 1%. You have to understand, we fight about politics because politics matters. Politics is who runs power, how, and why. But that's not 90% of that's not even 1% of what happens within the United States. Within the United States, 99% of people get up, they go do their job, they pay their bills, they pay their taxes. Also, hundreds of thousands or millions of people go to farm work where they produce food. They produce cows, pork, they produce deer, they produce, I'm trying to think, like venison, they produce corn, they produce soy, they produce rice, they produce this, they produce that. Those people are not going to stop farming because some random political commentator got shot on a college campus. They're going to keep doing their jobs because not only does it pay their bills, but it also keeps the country moving. So they know that they have to do that. So pretending that, a YouTuber gets shot and then a farmer says, you know what? The country's just too crazy right now. I'm going to let all my crops rot in the field. That's not how it works. It's not even close to how it works. Even with all the farmers who are getting screwed over right now by the Trump tariffs and by the Trump administration, they're going to get a bailout. They're going to get a bailout. Now, a few farmers are going to kill themselves before the bailout hits, but they're going to get a bailout. So, no, I'm not worried about a total system collapse from the current violence.
Was radicalized by the left.
No. And I backed that up because he was already off about the writing on the bullet casings. He was like, "Hey, fascist catch," and he's like, "Well, it's obvious what that means." It's like, dude, it's from this video game culture, whatever. I'm sure these other things have meaning too. Like, I don't think he ever saw nice bulge, oh, or whatever it was, So I don't think these guys understand the culture that this kid was in and the groups he was associating with, and they're just assuming this is how the left rolls. They're all trans, they're all into this, fascism. But then, there's clips of Trump using the word fascist, and there's clips of like the Groypers and all that. So I just don't think it's going to work out the way that he wants it to. So, but boy, highly irresponsible of Cox, Patel, and Trump to point the finger at the left. And I think it's a disservice to the Kirk family, because if it was my family member that was lost, I wouldn't want some bullshit accusation.
Fashion 40 says, wait, are my comments coming through? I mean, I see that comment. I don't see your previous one.
I want to know the truth.
Also, Patel looks like a fucking clown.
I was going to say, if in honoring Kirk's wishes, I think the family would want them to misrepresent it for the purposes of propaganda to the greatest possible extent.
Nice, Soy Bill. Nice.
I think, yeah. But I need to push back on that a little bit. I mean, like, I know we don't know, but there's a good chance this guy was like, hey, this person has super violent rhetoric against people I care about. I'm going to be violent back. Like, I'm not going to say it's the truth, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if it came out and that was the case. It just doesn't ultimately matter. If you go back to the day it happened, before the Crowder leak all this stupid stuff about it, it's definitely pro-trans, it's definitely this. Everyone already came to that conclusion. The question they were asking in the middle of the shooting was, how many trans people commit mass shootings, which is this overinflated statistic of like this right-wing scaremongering thing to try to take guns away from trans people that was happening before this happened. So it doesn't matter. They have a presupposed narrative to hate trans people, and they're going to find whatever they can do
mash
to
the
fit
facts
it.
in. Yeah,
they'll mush it in there, whatever. And that's what they did with this. It's like, okay, the shooter's trans. Okay, well, the shooter's not trans.
It's called confirmation bias.
Probably, some trans simp people. Oh, well, they had a trans girlfriend. Okay, maybe it was their roommate. Okay, maybe they talked to a trans person. They're going to find a way to do it. It doesn't matter. And that's why the Trump reaction is so scary, is because he didn't.
Some grassroots just asked for a Discord invite, just because we're still hovering around 230 people, even though we changed topics. I parasocially love you. Thank you for being here. Like the stream, share it with your friends. If you have a good time, come back on Monday. I stream Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We're in a little bit of a flux state right now because Valor Media got a community strike, so we're not allowed to stream. We are appealing it. Through a YouTube representative. So, oh snap, was I supposed to be talking to somebody today? Did I say that I was going to talk to somebody today? Let me check my Discord real quick. All right, that's my editor. That is somebody else DMing. That is somebody else DMing. Was I supposed to talk to like Doobie or something? Listen, whoever I was supposed to talk to, my apologies if I missed our 1 p.m. engagement. I'm just going to keep doing the content and then we'll just reschedule if I miss somebody. I don't know if I missed somebody because I don't have any DMs. So anyways, there's a Discord link in chat. I parasocially love you. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. Thank you for being here.
Know all the facts, and he's going to come out and say this is the left-wing rhetoric doing this, and this is why we need it. Like, they're just primed to do it no matter what. This is just their excuse,
which is why you shouldn't make it worse and make it easier for them.
Like, they were going to do it because big balls got beat up. All right? Like, they didn't need this.
Well, three big things on this topic, I guess, that I really want us to touch on before we move on to the other topics is I do want to talk about Trump's reaction from the video address to honestly some like other weird shit. Like, he was asked about Charlie Kirk and he's like, yeah, whatever, the White House renovations, like everything, all of his reactions or non-reactions. I do want to talk about that. I want to talk about the MAGA industrialized cancel culture. But first, I think we need to talk about the Democrats' response here, because Hutch actually kind of broached this topic earlier. And I got to say, I think the Democratic Party's collective response has been about as good as you could possibly expect for a mass movement and political organization comprised of tens of millions of people. And even if you just confine it to the leadership, like elected officials and major Democratic influencers and stuff like that, I think it's like A+. I mean, you can't possibly expect literally every single person in a movement this big to be humane in their response. That's impossible. What you can expect is that the leaders, the political leaders and the thought leaders react with humanity and dignity. And they did. And that's something that I don't think is being recognized. I'm curious what you all think about that.
Well, that's how they respond every time. Like when Biden was president, you never had to worry about him dividing the country further when some horrible disaster happened or shooting or tragedy. He was always pushing the same message. He was always emphasizing the idea that like we should keep fighting for an America where you're not like killed for speech. And they, this is just I don't know. When have the Democrats ever like legitimized violence? Like in the case of like the 2020 riots, like all.
I'm calling bullshit right here. Calling bullshit. Calling bullshit.
All of Democratic leadership came out against the riots. Kamala did, Biden did, Pelosi did, all of them.
Bro, she.
Okay, listen. I appreciate that. I appreciate that mainstream normie Democrats came out and said violence is bad, okay? But what you have to understand is that most people are on the internet and most people have arguments on the internet. And I was around in 2020. I was around through 2022. And what happened was I had endless Twitch and YouTube political debate panels where the leftists came out and said, well, these places have insurance anyway, so who gives a shit? And what's more important, life or property? And what's more important, the struggle of black people or white people feeling uncomfortable for a few months? And this rhetoric was everywhere. You can say it's a few shitters. You can say that it's a few online people. You can say all that kind of shit. But I'm telling you, if you check Twitter, that was the rhetoric. If you check mainstream news, they were doing like some kind of like sympathy. You know, the phrase fiery but mostly peaceful protests is branded into the brain of every person right of Joe Biden. Okay, because that is sweeping. That's sweeping. Okay, you have a young black gentleman. I can picture it now. You have a young black gentleman with a microphone right in front of his face, and the placard on the bottom says fiery but mostly peaceful protest, and he's standing in front of a building that's been set on fire. Then you had Kyle Rittenhouse defending property in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he gets into basically people start attacking him. He kills 3 people, and for 2 years, the Democratic media portrays him as a white supremacist mass shooting murderer rather than what he truly was, which is a person who was trying to protect his community and who was attacked by other people and killed people in self-defense. So, no, I'm sorry. You don't just... This is like the Destiny thing where he forgot that the Battle of Berkeley happened. This is like the Destiny thing where he forgot that there was a bunch of like riots on campuses. This is the liberal equivalent of forgetting the Summer of Love in 2020. Oh, yeah. Chaz Chop. We had Chaz Chop, the autonomous zone in Portland, which might as well be California or might as well be like China. So like realistically, if there was going to be a leftist autonomous zone, then it was definitely going to happen. Shit. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my boot so I can lift weights. But the Chaz Chop thing happened for like 6 months until it killed like 2 random black teenagers. And there were already half a dozen murders before that. And there were already American businesses that were effectively under siege and they were subject to the mob because they happened to be in the wrong zip code. Do you want Americans to forget that? You want us to pretend that that wasn't some level of like malevolent neglect on behalf of the Democratic Party? Fuck that, dude. Fuck that. Listen, I'm all for saying that Democrats are the lesser of 2 evils. I am not for this fucking self-sweeping of the bullshit that happened in the past 5 years. Fuck that.
Retweeted the bail fund, though. Come on.
They, you know, like in retrospect.
True.
This probably wasn't the best move that she did that, but she absolutely came out and unequivocally condemned the violence.
No, Josiah just said that sarcastically. He said, oh, well, Kamala did retweet the bail fund, lol. And then Hutch was like, yeah, actually, that was terrible optics. Yes, it was terrible optics. Yes, that was used in order to say that Kamala Harris supported BLM rioting. Like, dude, this is a hug box.
Problem is like, and it just feels like beating a dead horse because we talk about this so much, but the right wing in this country, they really do exist in a very siloed off kind of media ecosystem. So, when they say that Democrats and
I think you guys are also in a siloed off media ecosystem, but that's okay. That's okay. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to remind you.
Encourage the violence. I don't think they're lying. I think they genuinely believe that that's the case. I think that they get their information from like really unreliable purveyors of information in the media and in the body politic. And they like genuinely have no idea that the Democrats are always good about the message after an event like this. And so like, how do you take that on? Like, how do you tackle that? I really have no idea.
I don't think, I mean, there is a huge misinformation bubble, don't get me wrong, but the
You call out schizophrenics. You say Hassan Piker is not a part of us. You don't give him glazing interviews on NPR, on Rolling Stone, on whatever other shitty fucking magazine he is. You don't glaze far leftist terrorist apologists. That would be the first step, in my opinion.
The narrative that I see, the pervasive narrative is
you don't have the Vanguard onto your TV show and you're like, ha 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 ha, ooh woo. You know, you're a bunch of revolutionary leftists who hate the Democratic Party, but realistically, aren't we all friends? Now, I know they're not going to agree with that characterization, but understand that that was the vibe.
If you call Donald Trump a fascist, if you call Donald Trump a Nazi, that in your logic justifies what happened. So it's less about the misinformation and more, well, the left wing's.
Yeah, and you know what I do whenever I say Donald Trump is a fascist, and I have 2 or 3 people in my chat who are right-wingers who are like, wow, can't believe you're overusing the fascist word. You know what I do? I explain political corporatism and flexible authoritarianism. I explain the philosophy of Giovanni Gentile. Okay? And I point out how Donald Trump plays into that shit. And so if an idea matches the definition, then it's just true. But you know what happens? Is I almost guarantee you that if I asked any of these motherfuckers what political corporatism is, they would say it's the marriage of the state and economic power. If I asked them what flexible authoritarianism is, then they wouldn't know how to articulate it. So we have 6 successful creators on my screen right now. Hutch is successful. Josiah is successful. The Soy Pill is successful. IRI is successful. Pisco is successful. But they couldn't define fascism for you in a coherent way. So, yeah, maybe y'all need to get better, too.
Narrative of calling him this fascist implies that this is like we're in the 1940s Weimar moment. We need to take him out, and therefore that's the reason you caused this. Now, my pushback against that, by the way, this is not my opinion. My pushback against that is, well, if he's doing fascist shit, he's a fascist, and just because I think we can solve that electorally doesn't mean he's not a fascist. But
that's important because, like, let's say hypothetically there's a political party that's creeping towards fascism. Like, how should we address that? How can we talk about that in a
diplomacy first, violence if necessary. The same way we've always dealt with problems in our country.
Way that we're not going to be accused of and trying to provoke people to do violence. But the other pushback,
can't talk about it.
The other obvious pushback against that is that it is super common for right-wing politicians and pundits to call Democrats and the Democratic Party fascist, and they go further than that. We're not just
fascists, communists, Marxists, pedophiles, groomers.
Yes.
If we wanted to do a forensic audit of all the unhinged shit said by prominent Democrats versus those said by prominent Republicans, up to and including the sitting president of the United States, we'll win that competition, because for every one you can find of us talking that sort of shit about them, it's like a 4-to-1 ratio in the opposite way. And this is something that drives me nuts. Like when people like Konstantin Kisin and Piers Morgan, say what they say about this shit. And it's like, we could roll the clips. I'm sure IRI has them, memorized in his encyclopedic memory of all the time.
Yeah, but you can't. Okay, you guys, somebody's saying this, and I don't even know if they're addressing me or if they're addressing somebody else in chat, but they're saying you can't control leftists. I agree. Okay, but this needs to be the vibe. Okay. You can't sit with us. You can't sit with us. So right here, there's this entire vibe.
They were real that day I wore. Because that's what's disgusting. You can't sit with us! I wore a vest. Because that's what's disgusting. You can't sit with us!
That needs to be the vibe. Okay? Histrionic, you can't sit with us, go fuck yourself. That needs to be the vibe.
Times that Trump is like, communist Kamala, like, and all this other shit. He said the phrase threat to democracy. It wasn't just like
he called her a fascist.
Right.
He literally called her.
Yeah.
Whenever a judge rules against the Trump administration, they're like these Marxist judges. These
Right.
Marxist judges who fucking hate people. They're trying to trans our kids. They're trying to like cut off your kids' junk. Like
and Pisco, they say that communism should be bad as
G-Free says rare L. Tell me which one.
Nazism. So they believe it's like calling them Nazi, right?
They say worse because there's a bigger body count, they say.
What are you guys missing? I don't know what you guys are missing. So Conor saying this is wild for me. What the fuck, Conor? Blah, 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 blah. When have I ever given you the impression that you don't bully leftists? When have I ever said that? When have I ever said that you could do apologia for any of this shit? Chaz was Seattle. Okay, Pacific Northwest. Who said the dead teens were a good thing? Okay. You guys have autism. That's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you for having autism. Nobody said that the dead teens were a good thing. What we said was that the Seattle Police Department and the Seattle First Response and the Seattle mayor called it the Summer of Love. They said, oh, it's just a bunch of cute kids doing a little Summer of Love thing. Don't you worry about it. And they allowed a portion of their city to be controlled by hipsters and hippies for like 6 months. And then it resulted in murder. That's benign. That's not even benign neglect. That's malevolent neglect. Just because you go, oh, it's bad. If you're permitting it, then to some degree you're responsible for it. So the Seattle mayor and the Seattle City Department and people sweeping for, oh, it's so cute. All those little hippies in Seattle, don't worry about them. They're not doing anything bad. Blah, 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 blah. All that fucking sweeping. You think people didn't get pissed off at that? You think moderates, independents, right-wingers, you think they didn't see you sweeping for Chaz Chop and were like, wow, that's dumb as shit. And then it had a predictable result, which I think like 2 or 3 people were already murdered and first responders weren't able to get into the autonomous area in order to get to their corpses. And then there was, they basically created like a militia for the autonomous zone. And then 2 teenagers like charged their roadblock and got lit up and got murdered. So I'm sorry, but like, what do you want me to apologize for? What do you want me to apologize for? What do you want? What part of my characterization is incorrect? Lethal Land says we can't. Do I have to find it? I'll just find it. That's fine. We'll find it. You guys don't believe me. Seattle Mayor Summer of Love Chaz Chop. Protesters marched to Seattle Mayor Durkin's House of Chop scene continues. Seattle's Chop was not a Summer of Love. That's a documentary. Summer of Love, Mayor Durkin, Seattle protest 2020.
How long do you think Seattle in those few blocks looks like this?
I don't know. We could have the Summer of Love.
Listen, I get it. It's a 5-second clip, but you understand that 5-second clip is fucking insane, right?
It's moving in the right direction.
Hold on. So what is it? Seattle Mayor Chaz Chop. This is all the sweeping after it was done. I get it. It's a 5-second clip. In my ideal, 30 seconds. Let's take a look.
I've made it clear from the outset that I don't think that the president or his administration's comments have been helpful. In fact, there's no question that they have made the situation more volatile, including some threats on Facebook that some patriots would come this 4th of July to liberate the area. I think that's made it more difficult. I would urge the Attorney General to restore lawfulness to Pennsylvania Avenue.
Sorry, bro. If you don't see Seattle leaving that up as 6 months as effectively like malevolent neglect, I don't know what to do for you. We're just not going to see this the same way.
They attributed
It's not this is not even an exaggeration. If you listen or watch a Jack Posobiec at all, and what I understand to be the central thesis of like his book on humans that I haven't read, again, I'm just going off of my understanding of that book. It's like that Franco was correct. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know enough about the Spanish Civil War to like talk about the atrocities of what occurred from both sides. But I'm just saying like their whole outlook is we should support the fascists over the communists. And so they view communists as worse than fascists. And so it's really not
Correct. I do hate communists more than I hate fascists, unironically.
About whether or not, like, according to the normal person, communism is seen as worse. It's what does their base think? And to them, they do view communism as worse than fascism. And so under that line, it's like it's not even close. It is not even close. And we're acting, and we have to live in this fantasy world that we have to be held to account for calling out fascist policies and fascist.
Okay, Lethal Lands, but if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, and I keep conceding over and over again, then we're not going to see eye to eye. Show me a Democrat representative condoning the violence. There wasn't one. The closest you got is Kamala retweeting a bail fund, which is why she repeated so much. Yeah, you're right. Democratic leaders did not endorse the rioting, okay? But they absolutely endorsed the protest, which was viewed as a cover for the rioting. And what do I have to do? Do I have to find the... Don't make me do this, okay? I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this, by the way. Like, do I have to find the Maxine Waters quote of, you know, like, get in their faces, attack them when they're at dinner? Do I have to find the AOC quotes where she's like, these people are just expressing their First Amendment rights and, you know, they need to be heard? Which, by the way, I agree with. But the whole point is that you have Democratic lawmakers saying protests are awesome. We need police reform now. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to think about defunding the police. We need to think about this. We need to think about that. And then you have fucking riots going on in the middle of the fucking protests. And that just happened for like 6 months. So if you think that I'm pissing on your leg because I'm saying like, well, the Twitter discourse was fucking crazy, but I'm acknowledging that Democratic leaders didn't endorse rioting or murder, then I think you're pissing on my leg that the tenor of those conversations at the time wasn't vaguely supportive of like defunding the police or all cops are bastards or any of that bullshit. Like, matter of fact, leave the lands. Let's do this. I think you're on Twitter. Go ahead. If you were on Twitter in 2020, let's just like pull up all your tweets. Like if you want to argue this for real, if some of you want to argue about the tenor of the sentiment in the country in reference to the BLM riots and the BLM protests or Chaz and Chop, go ahead and like, if you were on Twitter in 2020, send me via DM on Twitter your profile and don't delete anything. And I'll go through what your tweets were in 2020 and 2021. And we can see whether or not you were supportive of the riots or the ACAB or the defund or the Chaz Chop. Let's see what you were saying about it.
Just people, no, fuck no, never.
Yeah, that's why I've been sticking to the point, like, look, telling people in my community, you don't have to feel bad for Kirk and you can push back on people, but feel bad for our democracy because it was a body blow to our democracy. That's the only thing you have to feel bad for.
They, you know, Donald Trump, quite literally, this is not an exaggeration. He routinely in 2024 was getting up to the podium at various rallies, news interviews with Fox News, and claiming that Democrats, not just Biden, Democrats want to purposefully allow illegal aliens into the...
Don't gaslight me, okay? We don't have to agree on this shit, okay? We don't have to agree on this shit. But you cannot tell me that the left-wing media didn't portray Kyle Rittenhouse as a mass shooter for 2 fucking years, okay? You can't. You can't, you won't. You're gaslighting me. Stop.
Country so that they can flood our streets with fentanyl, so that they can kill people, and then also so that they can rape your daughters and then like cannibalize people. That's not, I'm not exaggerating that. Like, he said that very clearly, like over and over and over again. And unfortunately, millions of his followers literally believe that. So obviously this idea that, you know, Democrats need to be the ones to like mind the rhetoric is just fully fucking absurd, and we should relentlessly push back against this stuff, and we should show people receipts. You know, if you have like normie family members or whatever, like show them clips of you know, Charlie Kirk saying that Joe Biden should be executed. Show them clips of Donald Trump saying that, you know, Democrats want people to like millions of people to die from fentanyl.
Absolutely. He just claimed the other day that 100 million people were liable to get killed by fentanyl. Cameron Man 502 for 5 says, I should have been a chiropractor with all the twisted back patting this panel is doing. Yes, they're very proud of themselves. They're very proud of themselves.
Two things there real quick. So if only we had a content creator in this group that does like video essays and stuff like that, maybe he could dedicate his next video essay to bringing the receipts there, having a comprehensive video. Because I'll be honest with you, everything's just such a fucking blur, and it's hard to have the receipts on hand. Like if you saw my Twitter bookmarks thing, you'd be scrolling for days. So food for thought, Soy Pill, I'm submitting that as a suggestion in the suggestion box. But IRI, I'm curious, have you done any debates on TikTok since Kirk's assassination? Oh, yeah. How's that going? Walk me through that.
Actually, I wanted to give Hutch and everybody some good news, because when I confront Trump supporters about Trump's rhetoric compared to the left's rhetoric on this issue, they agree with me. Trump is wrong. And a lot of them haven't even watched the 4-minute video he put out the night of Charlie's passing. They didn't know about the Fox News interview where they asked him about right-wing extremists, and he said, I don't really care about them. They're not part of the problem. So I'm talking to these people, and they're agreeing with me that Trump is out of control with his rhetoric on this. So that gives me some hope.
That's good. Honestly, Pisco Hutch, and soy pill, especially since you guys much more active in debates than me. Well, you got to fire up the TikTok too. You got to do that. I know.
Oh yeah,
Pisco,
no, wait, shout out. I just made the TikTok. I'm getting views on my shorts, and
Dude, hold on. This is what you guys want, okay? This is what you guys want again. You're fucking spurring out again because we have like DGG crossover because we were talking about Destiny earlier in the day, and it was such like a generous day. Everybody's in such a fucking good mood, but you guys are you guys are losing step again, okay? You're getting out of step. What I mean by that is I have done nothing wrong in my entire life. This is what you want. This is what you want from me, okay? This is you. This is Fargo Lefty. This is a bunch of fucking DGGers in my chat right now. This is what you want to happen as a part of my stream, and it's not going to happen, okay?
And nothing wrong ever in my life.
I know this, and I love you.
That's what you want. That's what you want. One more time.
I have done nothing wrong ever in my life.
I know this, and I love you.
And it's not going to happen, all right? So if you expected that to be our relationship, I don't know why you expected that to be our relationship. It's not going to be our relationship, okay? If you need that, there's endless amounts of liberals who will jay you off into the sunset about how good and moral you are and how there was nothing wrong with the BLM riots and protests and there was no sweeping and all of the sane liberals and sane Democrats were saying perfectly sane things and the progressives and lefties, they were just a little out of pocket. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Democrats are right about everything all the time. Like, yeah, sure. If you want that, go find that someplace else. I'm not going to give that to you, okay? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I'm putting out there. So just follow me at Pisco Liddy. I'm joining the movement. Pisco Liddy.
Pisco, I've been staring at your shorts for years. I can't even do it this right piece. I'm sorry.
Oh, whoa, nice bulge.
That's right. Oh
how
my
you use
God. No, that's funny. Okay.
No, but definitely follow. And yeah, so I'm learning about this TikTok stuff. I'm learning about this TikTok stuff. But yeah, it seems like a pretty cool place with a lot of.
Sick. Wowman542 says Short Fat Otaku has an hour-long deep dive into all the horrendous shit and liberals sweeping for it during the Chaz based.
Still dudes.
You know, there's been a lot of debate about right-wing messaging versus left-wing messaging and who's more to blame and all that stuff. But there's also been another conversation going on that I'm not sure, listen, I'm not sure how much we want to get into this, but it kind of relates to Soy Pill, the panel that you were on Friday. There's this whole other.
Death Lily, you have to be the most exhausting person. Don't worry. You inspired a drawing. Don't worry, Death Lily. You have inspired me. Jesus Christ, guys. Politics is difficult to do because we have divided up politics into a fucking binary because we're stupid. And the right wing, for those of you who don't know, it's from the French Assembly, okay? The left wing were the people who were for the people because they were the Jacobins and the revolutionaries and the anti-monarchs and all that kind of stuff. And the right wing were the conservatives, the traditionalists, the people who wanted to maintain the monarchy. That's why it came, and they sat on the left wing of the assembly and they sat on the right wing of the assembly. And somebody thought to themselves, dang, this actually kind of boils down a lot of politics because some people want to advocate for the general well-being of human beings, regardless of whether or not an institution needs to be destroyed. But a lot of institutionalists want to maintain their institutions because they think that they're necessary for social stability. So this became shorthand for how we described politics, left and right. Okay. So Death Lily is saying, well, I'm a liberal, I'm assuming. And so matter of fact, you guys are like, I don't know, 80% of the population. And then there's progressives. And then there's the far left. So why should I be responsible for the rhetoric of, and then let's do SOCDEM and liberal. Why should you be responsible for the other people who are a part of your party? And here's MAGA and disright. Right. Okay. Let me expand the political bifurcation. So you're saying, as a lib, why am I responsible for a far leftist? Well, it's because they're part of your electoral coalition, okay? Liberals partner with progressives, partner with social democrats, partner with far leftists in order to achieve politics, okay? So when the far left says something fucking crazy, it's your job in order to police them and tell them to shut the fuck up. That's your job, okay? The same way that it's my responsibility, I would argue, as a never Trump Republican, in order to say MAGA is stupid, they have dog shit policy, they're killing people, they're incompetent, they're stupid as fuck. So yeah, to some degree, I share responsibility for what MAGA does, and to an even greater degree, because the dissident right wing is a perversion of the belief system that I hold in my heart, it's my responsibility to police the dissident right. So I know that as a liberal, you believe in rugged individualism, but I hate to tell you this, but politics is a team sport. So it can't just be me who calls out the far left. It can't just be never Trumpers and MAGA and the dissident right wing who call out the far left. Otherwise, the far left is going to gain more political sway because they remain unpoliced. It's up to you. It's up to liberals who are quote unquote on their team to tell them that they have stupid fucking ideas. This is the exact argument that Destiny and I had with Pisco and with who else? That's the exact argument with Lib and Learn was, hey, if you're going to bring these guys onto your platform unchallenged, you're normalizing them and you're not challenging them on the crazy shit that is actually counterproductive to your political side. So just because your daddy forgot that within the past 2 or 3 weeks, that the left, far left, is different than liberal, and therefore they should stand on their own when it comes to their dog shit rhetoric, doesn't mean that I'm going to allow you to forget that. So sorry if that's uncomfortable that I'm saying that you as a liberal are partially responsible for what people do on your side. I'm going to go ahead and accept the responsibility for the fact that it's my duty to criticize MAGA when they betray principles or have dog shit policy. And it's my duty to criticize the dissident right wing when they pervert the ideology that I actually hold. Sorry, Death Lily. Welcome to team sports. Welcome to politics. If you're not interested in that, then you're interested in having an opinion on the internet. You're not actually interested in politics.
Other debate going on right now about like whether or not Democrats should disavow the violence. And, unfortunately, a lot of people are talking about this right now. And to me, it's like super blackpilling. So I'm like very curious to hear like how you felt about that panel and like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as someone who likes to do unhinged things on the internet, like you can find no shortage of jokes about the incident day of and day after on my page. Watching Destiny or other people say, we don't need to disavow because we're going to use it as a tool of leverage over the right is insane to me. Because one, there's exactly what you said. There's a bunch of people who don't know who the fuck Charlie Kirk is. So like my lived up TDS parents do not know who Charlie Kirk is. And if out of nowhere they saw Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, or whoever the next primary candidates say, oh, we're not going to disavow left-wing terrorists until the right wing do it, they would be scared to vote left-wing too. They would feel blackpilled. They'd say, I don't have a place in between these two parties. They're both like violent. And like, unless it was so existential, then maybe they'd hold their nose. But that's way more alienating. And it doesn't cost us a lot to just be like, look, I'm not going to mourn Charlie Kirk. I don't like his rhetoric, but it's not.
New York says that needs to be the vibe, 100% true. So how do liberals actually make people feel this vibe? Most of us have already distanced ourselves from communists for some time now. Listen, I felt like Steven was the best one at it. I'm not going to lie. I thought Steven was the best person at making it clear that Hassan Piker and his ilk were not a part of his team because he vociferously said so. I also thought Hutch was doing a pretty good, gosh darn good job during the lefty arc. But what ended up happening was Josiah and Pisco and Econoboy, they were trying to police Hutch into not attacking their allies so aggressively because of the exact argument that Lethal Lance was making earlier. Lethal Lance was saying, well, the right wing is so poorly behaved. Why do we spend any energy policing the left? So Lee Lance was a boogaloo boy in 2020. Jesus Christ. I mean, so was I, but still. Anyways.
Good, we have political violence versus I refuse to condemn a left-wing terrorist until Donald Trump does it. Like, I don't see where that gets us because
yeah, thank you, Soy Pill. Thank you.
Obviously, they're not going to turn down the rhetoric. They're escalating it, if anything. And while I say we should escalate with tactics like government shutdown stuff and redistricting and all that,
yes, there's 10,000 other options. Redistricting, which I don't like, but if you think that you need to do it in order to save the republic by redrawing electoral seats in order to counter the redistricting in Texas, I don't like it, but you got to do what you got to do. What was the other thing that he said? Canvassing? What did he say?
And while I say we should escalate with tactics like government shutdown stuff and
government shutdown, if the Democrats wanted to come out and say, hey, we just had a political assassination of a right winger, but realistically, we think that Donald Trump has never condemned violence. We are not doing our jobs until Donald Trump comes out and decries political violence on all sides. And then if they held a memorial for the death of Melissa Hortman, I would 100% support that. 100%. I think that's a brilliant tactic. Then same thing, what I would say is something that I would be interested to do with Steven is I would love to make content. There's a pro-gun social media platform called Pepperbox that allows you to do gun-friendly content. I would 100% create a Pepperbox channel with Steven and we could go over firearms maintenance, close range shooting, medium range shooting, long range shooting, how to zero a rifle, how to do ammunition management, how to clean your weapons. I would do all that shit on Pepperbox TV. I would love to do that. I would love to have a pro-liberal, pro-gun education Pepperbox channel. That would be fucking amazing. So anyways, the point is that there's 10,000 other things that we can do besides refusing to disavow terroristic extra-legal violence.
Redistricting and all that, going as far as they do to say, like, you know, what Donald Trump does on the debate stage, oh, Proud Boys, stand back, stand by. Like, holy shit, if Joe Biden did something like that, I'd be scared to vote for him if he's starting to do that for whatever left-wing, I mean, if there's a left-wing equivalent to the Proud Boys. But yeah, I don't see where that.
Okay, you're memory holing this, okay? Somebody said, like, Connor, you're criticizing the memory holing. Yeah, I'm criticizing the memory holing, but I'm criticizing the memory holing on the left. What is it? I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it super aggressively, but the Joe Biden, Kyle Rittenhouse commercial.
We'll start out with business didn't here.
Let's see if we can find it.
2 other protesters horrendous. Deep.
Damn. I want to find the original.
Twitter.
There's an original trailer here. There's an original trailer somewhere where Joe Biden, and bear in mind, like, I know that Joe Biden didn't specifically do it, okay? I know that he didn't create the commercial. It was probably some political organizer, some asshole fucking intern was watching the Young Turks or was watching somebody else, and they internalized that he was like a white supremacist shooter. But they effectively categorized within that political commercial, and I see them talking about the commercial. I don't see them playing the commercial. Joe Biden says he's angry and concerned about Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty verdict. Right here. Angry and concerned about Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty verdict. And then he also had a video effectively saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist mass shooter. Because that was the narrative that was prevalent on the left at the time. And anybody who had seen the videos was fighting tooth and nail. Now, you can say, like, oh, well, this was just on Twitch and YouTube politics. But do you remember the fact that Destiny had to go on a hardcore pro-Rittenhouse debate spree in order to get people to watch the Kyle Rittenhouse footage? Y'all don't remember that shit? I remember that shit like it was yesterday. All right. Anyways, it's probably this commercial, but it disappoints me that he doesn't actually just play the commercial in full. But anyways, it existed. I was there. Don't gaslight me.
Like, gets us. I don't see what leverage that gives us, but what do you guys think?
I think that basically the prescription of weight to condemn.
Okay. Lethal Lance and I can break bread. Okay, you're right about the media, and it was cringe, but I still say it's unfair to hold our candidates accountable for media while the right wing can get away with murder. Sure, the game is unfair. It's rigged against liberals. It's rigged against Democrats. You guys not only have to police your candidates and your elected officials, you also have to somehow police your media and your alt media representatives, when realistically the right wing can have like Jewish laser beams and Candace Owens saying that what is it? Candace Owens is currently saying that Charlie Kirk was murdered because he was insufficiently supportive of the state of Israel, and she will probably suffer no professional consequences for it. I agree. The game is rigged. It's unfair. You are held to morals and principles that the right wing is not held to at all. Can we break bread on that? Can we break bread on the fact that I am trying to hold you to a better standard of decency than the right wing will ever be held to account for? And then can we argue that pretty please with sugar on top, that as a never Trump Republican, it is my moral duty to criticize the dissident right and to criticize MAGA, as I do every single day?
This is fucking stupid. Like, are we saying that Biden and all the Democratic politicians did a wrong thing by coming out in force? No, I mean, I would agree with that. So, but I do agree with the notion of be on offense. To the extent that the prescription is be on offense, I totally agree.
Dude, there were people who were repeating that Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 black people in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after the trial was adjudicated. That narrative was so normalized that people thought Kyle Rittenhouse killed black people. But I'm pretty sure everybody he shot was white.
It makes no sense for left-wing or liberal people to be having to be in a posture of like, we did something horrible, we did something wrong. Like, no, you have nothing to apologize for.
Yes, do not assume responsibility for shit you have not done, but you should criticize the people who are responsible. Okay, so I don't think that it's Hutch's, Josiah's, Soy Pills, or IRI's or Pisco's responsibility to say, oh yeah, the left wing is making fun of Charlie Kirk's death. That's my fault. I'm sorry. I'll do better in the future. That's not what I want. What I want is, if we're in a conversation and we're being good faith, if somebody says, hey, as a general rule, should we dance on the graves of murdered people in a political context? I want Pisco to go, no, that's cringe. That's fucked up. And I disavow anybody who does it. Or don't even disavow. Just say, yeah, I think it's cringe and it's fucked up. And I'll criticize anybody who does it, because Steven's doing it, right? Steven's doing it right now. So anyways. I parasocially love you guys. Thank you for the support. I'm going to catch you later. Bye for now.